Welcome to Wormhole Fundamentals, a video walkthrough series from Adhocracy Incorporated that will explain each facet of wormholes and their mechanics in the EVE Online universe. In this episode, we'll be talking about capital escalations, a unique feature of PvE in wormhole space. A capital escalation is a wave of very powerful sleeper battleships that spawn when you warp certain capital ships into a Class 5 or Class 6 anomaly, data, or relic site. They will not spawn in gas or ore sites, nor lower class wormholes. Escalation battleships are significantly stronger than the sleepers you normally find at these sites. They have very large tanks and put out huge amounts of DPS. They also have warp disruptors and webs that work over 90k away and energy neutralizers to match. They are the hardest NPCs you can find outside of incursions and should not be taken lightly. If you do go in unprepared, you can easily lose a capital ship to them. However, if you can take them down, you can make close to $1 billion per site by harvesting their blue loot and salvaging their wrecks. The mechanics of escalations are a little complicated. You can spawn a total of 4 escalation waves at any given site, if you bring at least 2 carriers and at least 2 dreadnoughts into a site. The waves are ship type specific. Here's a quick summary of how it works. The first carrier that warps into a site will spawn a wave of 6 sleeper battleships. The first dreadnought that warps into a site will spawn a wave of 6 sleeper battleships. The second carrier that warps into a site will spawn a wave of 8 sleeper battleships. The second dreadnought that warps into a site will spawn a wave of 8 sleeper battleships. Any additional capital ships that enter the site will not spawn any further sleepers. A third carrier will not spawn any sleepers, and neither will a third dreadnought. If you fully escalate a site, you will face 28 of these powerful sleeper battleships. If you spawn all 28 at once, you will need either a good plan or new capital ships. The 2 carriers must have different pilots from each other, as do the 2 dreads. But, for example, you can have a dread pilot leave the site and return in a carrier, and that will spawn one of the carrier escalation waves. Warping the same carrier or dread in and out of the site will not spawn additional waves. There are many different ways to handle capital escalation. It can be fun to figure out a technique that best suits your playstyle, but there are also some guides available to use as a starting point. In the interests of education, we will tell you one strategy we do not recommend.
Primary will be the Lokis. Balgorn should focus on the remote repping energy transferring dreads.
Thanks for watching this episode of Wormhole Fundamentals. Stay tuned for future videos that will give an in-depth look at each aspect of wormhole life. Fly dangerous!
Each W-space system has at least 1 static wormhole, and Class 2 W-space systems have 2. The type of static is limited by the class of wormhole in which the static is found. Classes 1, 2,